Being a judge is no easy task. It's not often you see judges lose their cool. A perfect example being Penny S. Azcarate, who somehow made it through the dramatic Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation trial without breaking her apathetic gaze. At the other end of the scale, you've got Brevard County Court Judge Murphy, who went viral in 2015 after a physical incident with public defender Andrew Weinstock. This list includes 10 savage judge instances that surprised and fascinated the legal industry and audiences. These judges showed no mercy when it came to keeping order and serving justice, from searing comebacks to jaw-dropping put-downs.
Him like a fish in that apartment too. You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead.
Number 1. Judge Murphy. The battle erupted because Weinstock refused to forego his client's right to a speedy trial, as shown in the video. Murphy is not pleased with this behavior, yelling, "You know if I had a rock, I would throw it at you right now."
Walking, you can do two things at once. No?
On the other hand, Weinstock refuses to back down, saying, "You know what? I'm a public defender. I have a right to be here, and I have a right to stand and represent my clients."
All right, just have a seat, and then we'll let you know when you're supposed to be here.
A disgruntled Murphy responds, "I said sit down. If you want to fight, come back and I'll smash your ass."
2 charges, assault and resisting. You have the public defender. What do you want to do?
Weinstock agrees, and the two take it outdoors, much to the surprise of the courtroom. They can be heard shouting at each other in the background as the brawl takes place, and when it's over, the audience begins to clap and cheer. According to court filings, both men claimed the first punch was thrown by the other, with Weinstock saying Murphy hit him twice in the face. Weinstock, on the other hand, was accused by the judge of striking him in the chest. It was later revealed that the duo had to be separated by a constable. Murphy was eventually sacked after a disciplinary hearing for what was termed as appalling behavior. The Florida Judicial Qualifications Commission fought for a 120-day suspension, a $50,000 fine, and participation in a mental health therapy program for him. However, this was rejected by the Florida Supreme Court as it concluded it couldn't rule out future wrongdoing following the fist fight. Number 2, Judge Jorge Rodriguez Chomat. Penelope Soto, then 18 years old and a resident of Florida, found herself in a courtroom facing charges of possession of illegal narcotics during the infamous case. The case attracted global notice due to Penelope Soto's gesture of giving the judge the middle finger.
Well, it's not a joke, you know. We are not in a club now.
Okay, but it's
well, you see, we are not in a club. Be serious about it.
It didn't take long for her appearance in front of Circuit Judge Jorge Rodriguez Chomat to go viral owing to her rude behavior and belligerent attitude during the hearing. During the hearing, when the judge was increasing Soto's bond from $5,000 to $10,000, she could be observed smiling throughout the proceedings, displaying a complete lack of seriousness in her demeanor. She flipped off the judge and said, "Go expletive yourself," in a bold act of disrespect towards the authority figure. This astonishing demonstration of disrespect quickly resulted in her being charged with contempt of court and receiving a sentence of 30 days in jail. Nevertheless, the plot took a diversion that none saw coming. After hearing her explanation, Judge Rodriguez Chomat removed the 30-day contempt sentence he had handed her when she was initially brought before him on a charge of Xanax possession.
She had a chance to make amends. So how'd it go? Here's the story from Charles Hadlock.
Her being a first-time offender, her admission that she had overused Xanax, her commitment to conquer her addiction by entering a drug treatment program, and her remorse were some of the factors he listed for lowering her contempt punishment. Number 3. Judge John Ott Christopher McNabb, a Georgia parent, will remain in prison after the Georgia Supreme Court upheld his conviction for the death of his infant daughter Kalia in 2019. McNabb and Courtney Bell, the girl's mother, were accused of murdering their daughter under the influence of illegal drugs and in a violent relationship. McNabb recently requested a second trial, alleging insufficient evidence to condemn him.
It doesn't matter, but I just don't understand how you find somebody guilty of doing something to a 15-day-old baby.
He also claimed that his attorneys did not appropriately object to evidence concerning his illicit drug use and physical violence, and that Bell was his first cousin. However, the Newton County District Attorney's Office reported that the Supreme Court deemed these arguments unsubstantiated, resulting in McNabb's conviction being upheld. McNabb was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of release for the crime, as well as an additional 10-year sentence for concealing the death of Kalia. McNabb will be housed at Hayes State Prison. During the trial, McNabb acknowledged his surprise at being found guilty of endangering his children. He would not harm his children simply because he had marital problems with his partner. McNabb emphasized that there was no proof demonstrating his role in damaging his flesh and blood, claiming innocence and opposing child abuse due to his experiences as a victim. However, his defense did not prevent the judge from imposing a harsh punishment.
He lived for only 2 weeks and would be 19 months old now, but prosecutors say the deck was stacked against baby Kalia, and her parents are now standing trial for her murder.
In response to McNabb's claim of innocence, the court questioned him, asking what penalty should be meted out to the true culprit of the crime. McNabb reacted by proposing life in prison. McNabb received a heavy sentencing from the judge after analyzing his response and the evidence given. According to the judge, McNabb would be sentenced to life in jail without the possibility of parole on the charge of cruel death. He was also sentenced to 10 years in prison for concealing the death. Number 4. Judge John McBain. Camilla Gamet, convicted of killing someone in cold blood, was sentenced. Judge John McBain erupted in rage as she laughed after a statement from her victim's relatives. Gamet was sentenced to life in prison for brutally attacking her partner Marcel Hill 11 times with a sharp blade. Gamet was observed rolling her eyes and snickering when Mr. Hill's aunt addressed the court, exhibiting a lack of remorse and disrespect. Judge McBain, plainly enraged by her actions, interrupted her and angrily warned her to shut up or face penalties.
You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead.
He expressed his disgust for her behavior, saying, "I hope you die in prison. If this were a death penalty state, you'd be in the chair." The judge's hurtful comments condemned Gamet's callousness and contempt for the gravity of her crime. Gamet argues that she acted in self-defense, and her attorneys want to appeal her sentence. On the other hand, Judge McBain's emotional response expressed his disgust with her behavior and his view that she deserved the worst punishment attainable.
I agree with the family. I hope you die in prison as well. You know, if this was a death penalty state, you'd be getting the chair.
His emotional outburst highlighted his dedication to securing justice for the victim and his family, and his disdain for rude and unremorseful behavior in his courtroom. The judge's statements bore the weight of his authority, reflecting the gravity of the crime and its impact on the victim's loved ones. While the judge's remark on the death penalty may have been motivated by his emotions, it emphasized the breadth of his disapproval of Camilla Gamet's crimes. This incident in court highlighted Judge McBain's commitment to maintaining justice and holding offenders accountable for their acts. It was also a reminder of the emotional toll criminal proceedings can have on victims and their families. Number 5. Franklin Williams. According to courtroom footage, a judge ordered a convict who kept talking throughout his sentencing to have his lips taped shut.
So just follow the same rules. Fair enough?
Franklin Williams, 32, on trial for 3 armed robberies, had his mouth taped shut on after continuing to speak throughout his sentencing. Williams was supposedly grumbling about his solicitors and was repeatedly instructed to be silent. Despite the judge's orders, Williams continued talking, distracting the judge and his attorneys. Judge John Russo eventually ordered that Williams's mouth be taped shut. When the inmate continued to speak, the judge directed that another piece of tape be placed over his mouth. Williams received a sentence of 24 years in jail. Williams was convicted in December on many counts, including aggravated robbery, kidnapping, and possessing guns while disabled, according to court documents. The tape incident, on the other hand, created a nationwide stir. Finally, the judge apologized, overturned the sentence, and appointed a new judge. Williams arrived in court for his sentencing, and while he didn't disrupt the proceedings, he talked for 12 minutes and kept referring to the duct tape. "I want the world to know I am not an animal, contrary to what people may think. I am a man. No duct tape. Freedom of speech. Your Honor, I ask today, Your Honor, that I receive the lightest sentence that you can give me." Finally, Judge Patricia Cosgrove imposed the 33-year sentence. She pointed out that Williams already had a long track record before this. The judge also made an unusual decision, allowing Williams to say farewell to his mother before sending him to prison. Surprisingly, his sentence at the duct tape hearing was much shorter than the current punishment. However, the previous sentence was overturned once more. Number 6. Judge James Daniel. Kimberly Kessler is the woman accused of murdering her co-worker in Nassau County, Florida. Kessler was posing as a customer at a Tangles hair salon. She was supposedly on the run for 25 years and wanted in multiple states. She wouldn't be discovered until she had viciously murdered her co-worker with scissors and apparently disposed of her body. Judge James Daniel allowed Kimberly Kessler to speak in court during her murder trial, which lasted less than a minute Tuesday morning. When the judge began speaking with Kessler, she abruptly cut him off, stating, "No, I refuse this counsel. I've always done it. It's injustice, and you know it," she responded when he tried to speak more. Jordan Beard is Jolene's cousin.
Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin!
An unfounded charge leveled against one of her former defense attorneys. Kessler was transported back to a holding cell, where she could see and hear the proceedings but could not intervene. Daniel stated that she has the right to request a return to the courtroom at any moment. Following Kessler's removal, one of her attorneys requested another mental health evaluation, which the judge declined, and she kept making bogus assertions against her previous public defender. She was later convicted of first-degree murder and condemned to life in jail without the possibility of release. Number 7. Judge Michael Cicconetti. Justice, according to this judge, is best administered unconventionally. Judge Michael Cicconetti has become a global phenomenon for his unorthodox style of sentencing, which includes forcing a man to wear a chicken suit and spraying a woman in the face with what she believed was pepper spray. The municipal court judge attracted international headlines for giving 18-year-old Victoria Bascom the option of spending 30 days in jail or walking 30 miles after she failed to pay a cab driver for a 30-mile trip. But the judge, who hears 30 to 40 cases daily from his Painesville, Ohio courtroom, is no stranger to unusual sentences. Cicconetti stated that he does not believe the law as written is the only method to serve justice. He believes that his approach to making the penalty suit the crime is the key to his low number.
The stick is, I would never offer a sentence that I wouldn't do myself if I were in that position.
Cicconetti's sentence is preferable to jail time for Alyssa Morrow and Jordan Walsh. Morrow recently pleaded guilty to animal neglect and cruelty after admitting to leaving her 7-year-old pit bull mix Moose in a hoarder's home for a week. Moose is currently available for adoption. Morrow selected Cicconetti's alternative sentence of 8 hours at a landfill picking up garbage instead of 90 days in jail. Walsh, who pleaded guilty to bike theft, avoided serving 60 days in Lake County Jail by opting for 10 days of community service instead. Cicconetti directed Walsh to ride a bike in a parade for a local charity on one of the days of duty. "I think it's better than going to jail because I can demonstrate to people that I can do better in my community and that I'm not just another person who will make a stupid mistake or a dumb decision. I want to prove to my community that I can do better," Walsh stated. Walsh was relieved to receive a second opportunity due to Cicconetti's sentencing. His innovative approaches have won him fans from all around the world. Number 8. Keandria Cook. In Volusia County, Florida, the court determined that Keandria Cook was responsible for the carjacking that led to the accusations against her. A carjacking was allegedly carried out by an 18-year-old Cook and her boyfriend, who was only 17 when they were 17. During the carjacking, the boyfriend shot the victim, who was left with significant injuries. 2 days after escaping the scene and being on the run, the pair made another attempt at carjacking. This time, they were unsuccessful. However, they were taken into custody. Now that the case has been brought to court, Cook faces the judge to answer for her role in the theft and shooting. It is Cook's own mother who is heard sobbing in the background. According to reports, this very passionate outburst was a misunderstanding between Cook, her mother, and the assistant public defender. They believed that Cooks would not have to serve any time in prison. The original sentence of life in prison handed down to Cook was later lowered to 11 years. Number 9. Damon Kemp case. Damon Kemp is accused of murdering his housemates in Daytona Beach, Florida. Kemp allegedly confessed to the murders when police investigated a burglary at an apartment complex. He initially resided with his 2 roommates when both were shot multiple times in the flat.
Tonight, the 19-year-old accused of murdering his teenage roommates is locked up in jail and a judge is not letting him out.
Kemp is being taken to court in a wheelchair for his bond hearing. The judge attempts to attract Kemp's attention but is entirely disregarded. The defendant yelled several times, allegedly yelling, "God!" It was a brief and strange appearance. Kemp abruptly became silent.
God! 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 God!
The judge refused to grant him a bond. Kemp was escorted from the courtroom. He was deafeningly quiet this time. It became so difficult for the victim's family that they had to leave. Kemp is now being held in the Volusia County Jail awaiting trial. Number 10, Jacob Morgan case. This is Jacob Morgan, who was found guilty at the age of 17 of starting a house fire that killed a family member in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Morgan was left alone to care for his 14-month-old stepbrother, and authorities claim Morgan purposefully started the fire that killed his family member. Morgan is in court for a probable cause hearing. Listen to what the judge says. Morgan agreed to a plea deal in which he admitted to involuntary homicide and child neglect. However, he declared that he loved his brother and always maintained his innocence. Morgan was sentenced to 15 years in prison, although he said Lee was released after only 7 years. Thanks for watching. And while you are still here, make sure to click the video on your screen for more quality content.